Hi, friend.
Good morning. How are you, Marina?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I'm good, and we are
That's good.
almost out of the deep freeze. I
Oh,
see
good.
on the horizon. Supposed
That's
to be,
wonderful. That's absolutely
yeah,
wonderful.
supposed to be able to go for a walk tomorrow.
Nice.
Bonus.
I always laugh for us in the Northern Hemisphere when June 21st happened and it's the winter solstice. It's like now the days start to become longer again with
Ah,
this
yes,
daylight time. So that's always great.
yes. Looking forwards to spring in about 3, 4 months.
Yes, yes. It's a late spring for us on the side of the Rockies. So, or in the Rockies
Mhm,
for me right now.
mhm.
Mhm.
So you have an important topic for the new year, an important topic in general. And I don't think it matters what we talk about between you and I on this screen. It all involves change, making a change. And so, Marina, your topic is you have the power to change your life. So, Marina, why did you choose that as a particular topic for this session?
And I really was thinking a lot this week on what do I really want to talk about. And as I think by now everybody knows that I use my own life as an example. And there was a time in my life that I became quite depressed. And part of that was because I didn't think change was possible for me. I had this underlying belief that this is the life I have, and I just have to make peace with it and keep on living in this state of discontent forever, make the best of what I can with what I have, but not understanding that what I have is just a choice that I've made. So I was thinking a lot that people come to you and me on a regular basis because they're not happy about something in their lives. They want to change it. And you and I had a little discussion about this topic before, and we actually talked about the difference between men and women. And one of the first points I want to touch on is I see that if a person's discontent is big enough, then they will make a change.
Yeah, I agree. It has to do with where we are on the spectrum and how
Yes.
far down we are, because until we get to a place where our discontent is too great, we will just go with it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me for sure. Like that's what happened to me in my marriage. I'll go back to my marriage. It wasn't until I had hit rock bottom and I had lost all hope that I decided that I needed to do something about my life. I could not change my husband. I had tried. I had tried for almost 20 years to change him to make me feel better, and it was exhausting and debilitating and demoralizing and dehumanizing and all the D words that you want to go along with that. But until I got to the point where I realized this is my life. This is the only life I get. That's when I decided that I needed to change myself. So
Right.
what's your story?
Well, you bring up a very important point, and I think while we have it, like how we are trained to deal with what comes up, let's get this out of the way. Change is never about changing other people. If you guys hear background noise, my dog decided to play with her toy in the background. So if you're animal lovers, I have the most amazing dog. That's my shadow. Anyway, she's playing with a squeaky toy. Change is about us. It's not about other people. We have absolutely no power over other people. We cannot change them. And in your example, being in a relationship with somebody thinking that, oh, I will be able to change him, that never works. They have to change them. You cannot change them. It's like the saying that you can bring a horse to water, but you cannot force the horse to drink the water. And it's exactly the same. So very important point that change is about us. It's not about other people. We have no power over them. We can influence them, but the power of their own choice is what they have. And we see that in clients. When somebody comes to me and say, oh, I want you to help my husband to change his habits, my first question is, does your husband have the discontent to change his habits? Does he want the change? Is he requesting it? Or do you want him to change? And then if they say, I want him to change, and I'm like, no, give him my number. When he's ready, he can call me, but not before that. It's going to waste your money and my time. So I feel very strongly about that. But then you ask about my story, and I think my life of discontent was quite vast, and I kept on wanting to change things. And there were a few pivotal moments in my life. I think one of the deepest ones was in 2010 when I was assaulted by a man, and I had to call the police. And the realization was that I protected my children, and I made rules, I made boundaries for my children, but I never made boundaries for me. I would be very strict in that. And this discontent happened because this person assaulted me in front of my children. And knowing that night that I probably would have taken it and tried to change him if it did not happen in front of my children. But because it happened in front of my children, it was the end. It was the...
You are so, I think there are so many women who share this story, because right across the screen from you is another woman who shares this story. I wasn't ready to make a change until I realized that I was the role model for my daughters. I wasn't changing for myself. I was changing because I didn't want them to fall victim to what I saw my mom, right? My mom didn't make that change. So I followed whatever, I married the type of man that was my father, right? Verbally abusive. And so I continued to take it until I realized my own daughters were watching me. So same idea, right? Same idea. The woman, I was role modeling. I was going to protect my children, but I wasn't ready to protect myself. I still thought that somewhere deep down I might have deserved it.
Right. So for me, I will never forget that evening. I was sitting in my bathtub and debriefing. My children were not home. I protected them from the police involvement. Again, I protected them. And I was sitting in my bathtub and I thought to myself, what is wrong with me? And it was like this intuitive hit that came from nowhere. And I realized that I do not love myself enough to set up boundaries for me. And at that moment, this desire in my heart was born to find out how can I love myself. And that was such a huge pivotal moment, and it changed the course of my life. So we talk about change. I think one of the most important realizations is that change is the only constant in life. Change is the only thing that always happens. We cannot always keep things the way they are, and especially when things are not working out. So I went on a course in my life to find out how can I learn to love myself. I started to do many courses, and slowly, but definitely, surely, I started to learn to value myself, to get to know who am I, not who my childhood told me I was, because that in itself was just painful.
And a lie. It
In
was
my
a lie.
childhood, I learned that I'm not good enough. I will never make a success of anything. I was even said, why did God punish me to give me a child like you?
Mhm.
And those were the looping thoughts that started to come into my life. So in relationships, I had this feeling that, well, I don't deserve better. Nobody will really love me. Like, marry the first person who asked me. And that was such a disservice to myself and to him. And because I just didn't feel I was good enough. So again, I would keep staying in situations that I didn't like, jobs, relationships, everything. The discontent was there all the time. But in my underlying thoughts, my beliefs, my looping thoughts, my radio station, it was, yeah, but you cannot dream of better for yourself. This is just the way it is for you. So what
So
shifted?
yeah, today it's 2022,
Right,
and that was 2010, correct?
right,
Back in 20.
right.
So how long did it take you through taking courses and because I think you know where I'm going with this. I've got a similar story. I started Al-Anon in 2000, in the year 2000, and it wasn't until this. I mean, it was baby steps. It really was baby steps. I mean, Al-Anon, of course, it's a 12-step program, and it's powerful. However, it was baby steps. It was tiny incremental steps. And it wasn't like I changed overnight. So how long did it take you to get to the point where you really valued yourself?
Fran, I don't think it's a destination. I think it's a journey. I think it's something that I need to remind myself of almost daily, that I have value, that I'm allowed to stand up for myself. And this is a topic that we can discuss in another session. Where did this start for me? Definitely a dysfunctional childhood. And the thoughts that was planted within me that I do not have value. I consciously still have to remind myself that I do have value. But things did start to look up for me. And the first major success with that in my life was in relationships. Even though after that, for a while, I was so scared to even try to go into a relationship again. And until I realized that, but you know what, I like myself enough to not want that. Somebody once told me that there's something called a human negative need. And I think wanting relationships, looking for relationships, going to online dating when I was a single mother was for me born out of, I was so looking for love and acceptance from outside. And that's why I kept on getting these horrible relationships. So I kept on looking from outside. And even though it was in 2007 when I learned about the law of attraction, I still was looking for that coming from outside. And one of the biggest shifts in my journey since 2010, when the biggest change happened, was learning to love myself was something that came from within. And there are so many exercises I've done. And now I do that in my practice with clients. That's one of the biggest things for me, is to teach every client to love themselves first. Doesn't matter what their presenting problem to me is. So once I realized that I need to stop looking for love to come from outside, I have to start looking for love for myself, acceptance for myself, starting to value who I am and liking who I am, respecting who I am, and loving who I am. Not the person that people all through my life who has hurt me try to tell me I am, but the person that I know deep inside myself I am. And then to start to settle in that and start to, for the first time in my life, be able to just be by myself. When my kids had to go to their dad, instead of looking for something outside, like calling a friend saying, let's go to a movie or let's go to a restaurant or go online dating to keep me feeling almost distracted from getting to know myself. That was such a huge moment for me. So suddenly I started to meditate.
Mhm.
I really started to like that. And a lot of my meditations was around loving me, getting to know me, and being alone and liking it for the first time in my life. Loving to be by myself, looking forward to having time to just get to know me. So that was such a pivotal moment. And the result of that was that realizing what I would like in a relationship. Because for the first time, I honored who I am.
Mhm.
And it was so solid that I knew what I didn't want. And then allowing myself to say, okay, but I'm never settling for anything less than something that's going to fit me. And the result was 2 years later, which is 10 years ago now, I entered into the most amazing relationship where I got exactly what served me, because I was not going to compromise on that ever again. So let's go back to making a change. So my discontent that night in that bathtub was so great. I had to ask myself the hard questions. Why? Why did I allow this? And one of the biggest things was I didn't love myself enough. If you love yourself enough, you set boundaries. And the other thing was I didn't think there's anything better for me. I was not feeling good enough. I was not feeling worthy. But one of the most important things is I did not think that I had the right to dream, a better dream for myself. I did not think that I can say, you know what I really would love for my life is this. And that didn't happen until much later. I was already in a relationship with my husband when I got cancer. And that was another huge discontent. I was diagnosed almost 5 years ago now in March of 2017. And it was such a shock, a slap in my face almost, because I was, even when my mom was diagnosed with cancer 5 years before me, I would say out loud, well, she allowed that in her life. She brought it upon herself. I would say things like that. And I remember there was an organization in Calgary, the Breast Cancer Supportive Care Foundation, and they asked me and Wayne to be the guest speakers for them at an event once. And I used this because I was the one who said, oh, you know what, I'm so great. This will never happen to me. And none did I ever have to swallow my words, because yeah, it did. And my disbelief was just so great that even though I already changed my life, I wanted to give up. And it's interesting because I think in that moment I realized that I have a choice. I can fight this or I can go with it. And even though my diagnosis wasn't great, we get this, I want to say, romantic version of this. And I've talked about this before. You watch a movie, the doctor calls the patient in and tell her, you have cancer. And what we as the viewer of this movie and the character in the movie hear is, you are dying. And that's what I heard. And it took for me to meet a very special doctor who said to me, you are in the call 911, call 911, I'm dying mode. And when I realized that this is not a serious, it's not easy. It's, if anybody tells you breast cancer is easy, it's not. I lost a limb. It's not easy. I lost part of my womanhood. It's not easy. It's not. That's nonsense. It was a hard emotional journey. And that was going through this, being there one day at a time, going through the hormonal treatment, the surgeries, few surgeries, to just get a bit of normalcy back in my life was, it was hard. And then the tremendous emotional side effects of the hormone treatment was something I never expected. And it was after that that my rock bottom happened. So cancer was not the rock bottom. It was after that when I had a business that was not doing great because I just did not have the energy, the desire to put my everything into it. It was difficult for me, and still trying my best, even though I didn't love it, in a way, just not to disappoint my husband, but realizing so many things went wrong in that business. It was an import business, damaged products. I can name a list, and then coming to terms with, this is not working. My rock bottom happened in May of 2018. And realizing that through dealing the last year, the mastectomy for me was in May of 2017. So it was a full year of going to bed every night with this feeling that I wasted energy today. I wasted a life. And going to bed every night, almost in anxiety, with depression, feeling that I have no worth, and struggling to sleep and having all these thoughts going through my head every night. That, why am I here? Why was I created? That was rock bottom. I mean, I talked about this a little bit before. I would create projects just to get me out of bed. Because most days in that year, I would just go back to bed. I would send my husband off to work and I would go back to bed. And I would turn on Netflix. I would watch something on Netflix. And he would come home at night and he would tell me, he would ask me, what did you do today? And I would always be ashamed to answer him, nothing. My house was a mess. I would at least put in the effort to cook a dinner. But I had nothing outside of my husband and my children to live for, nothing. And that was not enough for me. And realizing that was not enough for me, that didn't give me enough purpose for my life, was a huge pivotal moment. So the rock bottom, the pivotal moment came end of May 2018. I just turned 50. And my husband went to work and I went to bed. And I scrolled through Netflix and I had this feeling in myself like, I cannot do this for one more day. I cannot. And I went to Facebook and there was somebody like me and you who did something like what I am doing right now, what you are doing, talking about this and talking about the change she made in her life. And that to me was, okay, there's my voice of hope. There's my voice. That voice told me that if you want to make a change, you can make a change. And then the process started for me. And the first one was I had to dare to dream. I had to be brutally honest with myself, almost the same way that I was in the bathtub in 2010, October in 2010. I had to dare to say to myself, but like I had to learn to love myself, I had to learn to allow myself to dream that I have a purpose, to dream that there is something better for me, that I can still make something of my life. And then to be honest with myself. And the first time I was challenged to say out loud what my dream was, it was hard because my programming, my conditioning by that inner voice for years was, first of all, my family is going to laugh at it. They're going to laugh behind my back. They're going to gossip behind my back about it. And they're going to make me feel as if, who do I think I am? To think that there is something better for me. I expected that. I expected the moment I express that, the moment I tell people, I am going to build a life to help other people. I'm going to use the last 50 years of my life and everything I had to overcome to be there for other people. I want to be the person whom I would have loved to have in my life when I struggled, when I didn't feel good enough. I want to be the cheerleader for somebody who is struggling with depression, with cancer, with wanting to give up, with not having purpose. And that was probably the hardest thing for me to do, is to become visible. And in a sense, it still is. So what did I do? I had to change my thoughts. And when I did my New Year's message, I talked about capturing my thoughts. And you asked the question earlier, Fran, about when did this happen for me? It's still happening. It still is, because there's always new challenges that comes up. There's always something that tries to hold me back that I have to be honest about. I have to capture that thought.
As you're talking, I think about how what we do, rapid informational therapy, really beautifully fits into everything you just said. Daring to dream, thinking about what your family and your community will say, the words they say, the looping thoughts, being a cheerleader for someone. Marina, you and I both know that when we go into a therapy session with someone, most people, I think, in order for them to come see someone like us, what we do, they have to be at a breaking point, right? When I think about the people that I've helped, that I've worked with, and you just see it in their eyes. You see the discontent, the lack of hope, the don't know what else to do. Basically, they've tried a lot of things, right? A lot of different therapy types, or a lot of maybe medications and self-help gurus. They've done a lot of self-help work already, just like you and I probably did. I mean, I did a lot of self-help work. And so when we finally get a chance to be with them, what's one of the first things we say to them? I hold up a pen, you probably hold up something. What do you say with that?
What is your magic wand? Like, if I had a magic wand, what is the life that you would love?
Mm-hmm. And I say the same thing. I hold
Yeah.
up my stylus and I go, Marina, if this was a magic wand and I could give you one wish today, what would it be?
Yeah,
And it allows that person to dream, right?
exactly. That's
And
exactly it. Yeah.
yeah, and then I'll ask them something like, if this therapy session will be successful in 3 years, when I see you again, what will you be able to tell me
Right.
about how your life magically and miraculously changed?
And that is something I've learned in one of the courses I've done. Is it's almost a time machine. You imagine you're in a time machine, and in 3 years from now, where are you? If this magic wand works and you are at the exact place, there's no lack, there's no limitation, where would you love to be? And that is exactly it. And that was my pivotal moment in 2018. And I am very proud to say today, Fran, that I've made a lot of my wildest dreams come true by daring to express it, daring to dream, by still showing up every day, even though I still sometimes have to battle those looping thoughts. And my husband reminded me of this yesterday because he said I should use this. I did a session on him about changing his thoughts, and it was all about money. And it was at a point when COVID was just restricting all of us, and he went into this panic mode of, what if I don't have an income, because he worked for himself? What if nobody wants to pay me? What if everything comes to a screeching halt? So the fear was, what if? And I think a lot of us today are trapped in that fear of what if. And it's the lady Byron Katie, who's also a self-help guru, who uses that a lot. So I can say to you, for example, but what if my dreams do not come true? And then you would say, but do you know for a fact your dreams are not going to come true? No, I don't. So why do you worry about that? We worry so much about the what ifs in life. So in my husband's case, we changed that thoughts. And I brought this up because what we do is to create new thoughts, to help our clients. And in my case, I help myself. You help me to create a new story, to create this beautiful transformational recording where we start to plant new thoughts, a better story, the outcome that we would love. We create a belief that it's possible. And that's one of the biggest things. If we can create the belief, the hope that my dream is actually possible, then
So
it can happen.
The number two was that worry, the fear. What will my family say? What do we do in RTT? What do we do to alleviate that?
Oh, that was a big one
Well,
for me, as you know, right? Yeah. So, oh my gosh, and this, I can go into a lot of detail with this specifically. In RTT specifically, in this case, we would then kind of have a dialogue with we call it the dialogue with a herder, and go and basically upgrade ourselves first to become that person of courage that would say, no, this is not my story anymore. This is not me anymore. You don't have the right to talk to me like that. And to remember that.
it's
And
profound.
it is profound.
The the empowerment, right?
Mhm.
I call it empowerment when we in our session where we give this person in front of us the power to
Yeah.
actually say to whichever family member or whichever bully on the playground or whichever crazy teacher that made us feel not enough, we empower them to have the power to say, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. I am worthy. I am lovable. I am perfect the way I am. I'm not stupid. I am brilliant. You know, all those, the looping thoughts that had gone through our head for 50 years
Right.
or whatever amount of time, we give that person the power. We give them, just tell them what you would say if you could go back to being that child in the desk in school, and and being bullied, or being whatever, wherever you are. The empowerment is paramount. It's life changing, right? You talk about the change. That's incredible. The life changing that will do for one of our from one of our clients. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and you've done it. I've done it. Um, and I think for myself that, and you've helped me to just be able to say to whoever the person is, for whatever area it is, no, you're wrong, and what you said to me is wrong, and I don't know why you said it, but it was wrong, because this is the truth about myself.
Right. So I'm just thinking that, if anybody is listening today and you really need to make a change, the first thing I want to tell you is your discontent big enough? And sometimes the realization that there is better for me, there is better for you, there is hope. You can help yourself, you can change your life. And to start to have that hope, I am telling you, I am the living, breathing, walking example that you can change your life. You can have hope. I have changed my life completely. Completely. I'm not the same person anymore. I don't even think the same anymore. And I'm still a work in progress. But if I could do that, anybody can. So if we can give you hope today, that dare to dream that there is something better for you, that there is a way to make the life you want a reality. There is a way. Then this is a win. Then I would feel like today was really, really worth it.
I think about a book called The Power of Why, and it's written by Simon Sinek. And it doesn't, I think the most important thing that you and I do, we want to help people. We want to help, just like you said. We've been there. We've been at the bottom. We've been where, what am I alive for? What was my purpose? Why am I going through this? Why? And you said it yourself, to be a hope, to be a beacon, to be a light, to be a force, to say to others, there is so much hope. There is, you will be able to do this. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Like, seriously, where you and I were, as for myself, the only reason I had to live was for my kids. That was the only reason. I felt that there was no other reason, that I wasn't needed, I wasn't wanted, I wasn't good enough. I'll never be good enough. I'll never be lovable enough. But you crawl out of the hole, and then you see, oh my God, it was just a hole I was in. And why didn't I just stand up? Because why did I lie down? Because the hole was only that deep. If I had just stood up, I would have realized I could have gotten out of it, with rather than staying in the deep hole. There is so much hope out there. And the power of why for me is, if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Let me help you do it. I want to, because yeah, you've got a big, beautiful life ahead of you. We all do. And the power of the journey, there's a destination. You have goals, I have goals, but the power of the transformation within the journey itself is, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. So, and in perception, if we change perceptions, I'm just thinking of some of the clients that I've had. And there was a lady a few months ago, she's in her 70s. And she's been a very shy person all her life. And it really affected her socially and at work. And so I did one session for her. And we changed when she gave her presenting thought to me, presenting issue, she said, I want to find my voice. I don't have a voice. I cannot speak up. So getting to know her individually, she can speak up. But whenever she's in a group setting or among strangers, she has no voice. She just disappears in the shadows. So we did the session for her. And then it was about 2 months later that she emailed me a testimonial. And she said, I now go out, meet strangers. I go into group sessions, restaurants with people I don't know, and I don't shut up. I don't stop talking. I have found my voice. And that's just one of the results of just upgrading somebody and giving her that idea that, man, you actually do have a voice. So how can we let that out? What can we do? And to go find out why it started in the first place. Like in my case, why did I not love myself? I had to find out what prevented me from loving me. So that is the beauty of what we do, is to find out why. Why did that start? So that is the power of why. Why did this come into my life in the first place? Because, Fran, when we are born, when a baby comes into this life, they come in with a clean slate. But then the suggestions are being made in their life, and it can be neglect by a parent, or it can be difficulty that the parent themselves are going through. Let's talk about finances. It may be a single mom who doesn't have the money to provide everything that she would love for this baby. And the baby learned that, oh, my mom cannot give me all these things, so maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe I'm not worthy of more. Maybe the parents are struggling with depression themselves. Maybe there's some dysfunction in the family, and this baby learned to think that it's my fault. It's all me. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. And that becomes the theme of the life. That becomes the programming, like a computer program. And that's what happened with me. And it may be perception. Like you may ask the parent if this is the way they meant it. And a lot of times it's not. But that's a perception. And we change perceptions.
Yeah, there's no perfect parent.
No.
No matter how much the parent loves their child, the parent is going through whatever their journey is as well, right? And your beautiful little baby is this sponge that is continually aware of everything that's going around them, whether they have language or not yet, whether they have their own language. They are a sponge for under for feelings, for seeing tension, for knowing that there is something that they can't fix. They can't fix, but I will try to fix it. I will try through whatever I can to help mommy and daddy love me better, so that I can be that baby that they wanted, so that I can be loved and cared for the way I need it. I know Marissa Pierce says there's three things that go through our mind continually about why we can't change, that whatever we want is not available to me, that I'm not good enough, and that I'm different than everybody else. And so those three things make me unable to get my highest dream. What would you say to that? Those three things: what I want is not available, I am never going to be enough, or I'm different than everybody else.
I think one of the biggest things is to help people realize that those are lies. That is really not the truth. We have choice, and we can dare to dream. So those are very important points, because that's exactly where people get stuck. And that's where I was stuck, because I really believed that love was not available to me. And I believed that having a career in helping people was not available to me. And I believed that I was not good enough. Why would people listen to me? Like I have been really trailing from behind all my life. Why would that listen to me? And I'm different. In everything I did, I always felt I'm different. And why, who do I think I am? Because it's not available to me. I'm not good enough and I'm different. So I had to change those thoughts. And how do you make a change? You dare to dream. Let's turn the volume down on those thoughts. And let's say, okay, you know what? What if I exchange those thoughts to the opposite? I am enough. What if you write on your mirror in lipstick? I don't care. I am enough. That is what our mentor taught us. And I still have that written on some of my mirrors. I am enough.
Right there.
If every morning you wake up and you wash your face and you see the words, I am enough. If that is what you start your day with, then it can change your life. If you let that in. If every time when those looping thoughts comes up that tells you, but Marina, you are not good enough for this. And you say, excuse me, I'm interrupting this thought. You're not mine anymore. My thought is now, I am enough. If you can do that, if you can change those thoughts, you can change your life. If you want to go climb Mount Everest, and every day when you start to prepare physically, you say to yourself, I can do this. Every day, I promise you, you will climb Mount Everest. But if every day you tell yourself, oh my gosh, I'm not strong enough. Who would believe in me? If those thoughts go through your mind, you will never climb Mount Everest. So change your thoughts. We talk about being a cheerleader. If you can learn to be your own cheerleader in life, you will accomplish anything you set your mind to. And that cheerleader is telling you every day that you can. You have it in you. Just do it. Just take one step. Take the first step to climbing your Mount Everest. Dare to dream. If your dream is Mount Everest, write it down. Dream it. And Mount Everest is a physical example, but you may be, I want to find love. And in February, we will have a complete theme on that. What are you doing? You learn that you are lovable. You find the power of why. Why do you believe you're not lovable? What was those thoughts, those suggestions that came into your head that told you you're not lovable? Because I tell you right now, it's a lie. It's a lie. And if you can learn to love you like I had to, it will come. If that's what you really want, if that's your desire. So dare to dream, be honest with yourself, and change your thoughts. Give yourself a new story, a better story. Marissa just wrote a new book. I will have it next Wednesday in my hands. You have to remind me the name. I can look it up. But it's all about tell yourself a better lie. Yes, tell yourself a better lie. Yeah. You've been lied to all your life. And that's kept you away from the life you would love.
And you've been lying to yourself too.
Absolutely.
You've been lying to yourself. And give yourself the benefit of the doubt that, you know, I think it's really powerful for us as well to say, yeah, when I was a small child, I had never that, but I am an adult now and I can handle this. I will handle this. I am handling this. The power of the I am. I am worthy. I am beautiful. I am lovable. I am just perfect the way I am.
Excellent. Well, that's it for today. So thank you for everyone tuning in. Hopefully we have left you with some hope and the knowing that you can change. Definitely.
We can do it, Marina. If you and I can do this.
Absolutely.
everybody can do it. Everybody. And yeah, it's just I just find it a blessing. I say that every day, or every time we get together, I just say, being able to help people change, being able to be a cheerleader for other people, being able to see you a year ago and now where you are right now, and I bet vice versa, right? Where we were a year ago to where we are now, the power of change, the power of why, the power of I am enough, the power of that, uh, nobody could nobody can fathom the amount of change that you and I have had in this 1 year of learning about how we can be our own cheerleader, how we can help others change. That's been the most powerful thing in my life, I think, is this last year about how quickly we can help others change.
Absolutely.
Powerful,
Yeah,
incredible.
it is
But thank
incredible.
you. Thank you for being here today. And thank
You as
you
well.
for all sharing all this knowledge and sharing about the sad, the discontent, the rock bottoms that you had in your life. Being vulnerable to me and to our guests. There's so much power in vulnerability. Yeah. So next week, I'm going to go into part 2 of building our relationship with food. So I think you'll find it just as enjoyable and just as noteworthy as part 1.
Perfect.
So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you and with
Amazing.
with our guests.
Thank you, Fran. We'll see you next week.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.